Welcome back to the AM show, and let's delve a bit deeper into us. Our being as African people and people of African descent. And come in studio and have this discussion with people who are really, have committed themselves to trying to reunite the African people with our our forefathers and what happened to them, and the need for the West to really, for lack of a better word, pay for what really happened to us so many decades ago or centuries ago. I have in the studio Ibrahim Khan, a special advisor at Open Society Foundation, and also I have Veronica Chatelain, senior programs officer with the Open Society Foundation. Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome.
Morning. Thank you.
Why is it so important for us at this time, to have these frank discussions about restitution of African cultural heritage?
Well, we are at a turning point in international relations. You heard about the prospect for African countries to get a seat at the G20. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You heard about the meeting of the BRICS.
Yeah, which is currently ongoing.
Yeah, go. I think we are at the crossroad where it's important for Africa to really design the way they want to see international relations conducted. We were subject. We want to be an actor. And to be an actor, you need also to bring on the table issues that are really of importance to you, your community, and the continent. Mm-hmm. And in that prospect, revisiting the past is really very important for all of us. Okay. Revisiting the past to know who did what, but also to make sure that in the future we will avoid the same problem, we will avoid the same mistakes. I think that's what it is. And also, the heritage we are talking about, it's part of our life. Mm-hmm. It's that heritage that distinct us from other communities in the world. Mm. And some of them were looted in a very violent manner. Some of them were taken probably for more study. Now that they've done the study, that they've done everything, we want this thing back to our community, because we want our community, the young generation that is coming in our society, to also learn about their own history, their own heritage, and to start thinking on using those elements to build their own future. The future depends on us, particularly, and this is what we want them to do. And to be able to do that, we have to bring, this gathering that we are having this week in Accra, it's all the black from the world. Mm-hmm. Because we have all been victim somehow of, practices that nobody can accept now. So we want together to think about our own future. We want together to also design the new way we want to be part of the world.
Why must I bother about restitution? After so many years, why should I even be bothered by it?
Very interesting question. If I can take an image, after the restitution, I think you will not be dressing like this in the future.
I'll change it.
You will change it.
I'll wear my kente.
It's a way of changing our mindset.
Okay.
It's a way of making us real African, knowing who we are, where we are coming from, and what we want, where we want to go. Because it's not just about symbolism. It's also about our economy, our politics, our culture, everything. If something is restituted, it will help the community first to know itself, but it will, also help the community to think about how in the future to get better organized,
Okay.
to get better structured. You know, maybe the way of our way of dressing can change. The way we design building can change. Many, many, many things can change. And that's why we need, and it's timely because we are in international relations. You know, for example, that the decolonization is really ending at this moment. France is no longer what it was, the British are, but that's a good momentum for all of us to reshape, you know, our relationship with the rest of the world, but to also think about what we are bringing in the new international relations.
Veronica, this has some political implications. What are these?
I think that's a better question for Ibrahima.
Oh, Ibrahima. Okay, then take it from me.
Yeah,
I mean, what are the political implications of all of this?
The political implication is, first, Africa will no longer accept the way it was treated in the future. The political implication is for us as African to determine how we think ourselves in terms of our political relationship among African states. You know, for example, in this restitution issue, we had to adopt an African common position on how restitution should be done. We are not going to the Western world divided. We are going to the Western world united, having accepted the same strategy, having adopted the same strategy. And also, when these things are restituted, it's for the whole continent. At the time it was looted, there was no Ghana, no Mali, no Guinea, no Nigeria, no Kenya. So when it's come back to us, it's a tool for reuniting us, for making sure that we know each other, our culture, our tradition. Those are very, very important in the context where we are all talking about integration, we are all talking about African unity. This is the time.
And I think also as part of African unity is we've been told who we are, we've been told how to dress, we've been told how to do our hair. And I think that it's not just about restituting these objects, it's about restituting the knowledge systems of what our ancestors were trying to teach us that has been stolen from us. So rather than going to school and learning Western forms of education, we'll be able to now design our own forms of education and really learn about our own histories, because the people of African descent, whether you are abroad, whether you're from here, Caribbean, US, whatever, we are divided. Asian communities are not divided. Western communities are not divided. The Black community is the only community that has been divided by the West. So now we'll be able to not just repatriate our objects and our heritage and human remains, but also ourselves and who we are, so that we're able to create our own blueprint of what the future looks like. You know, imperialism is crumbling, and this is the most opportune time to move forward with what we want to see the future of Africa.
So are we looking at a geographical location to say, bring back everything you took from Africa to Africa? Because we know we have our brothers and sisters in Haiti, for example, in Barbados, in Jamaica. All of these people see that are Africans, but they have been taken out of the, you know, the geographical location of the continent. Is that what the focus is, or?
I think it's both. I think it's both geographical, but I think it's also, like Ibrahima Khan said, it extends beyond what borders are, because borders were something that were created by the West. So I think that, to answer your question, it depends on the region, right? Like for Haiti and Barbados, our restitution is more so reparations. What was the financial loss of that? Because our objects were left in Africa, right?
Yeah.
And then for the continent, it's more land, it's more artifacts, it's more human remains. But I think as a person of African descent, reparations are owed to us no matter where the geography is.
Okay. How is open society, you know, pushing this movement that we're in now?
Yeah, I mean, I think an example of that is this conference. This is the first conference on the continent that has brought together such a diverse set of stakeholders ranging from artists, creative communities. We have representatives from the African Union, ECOWAS. Former President of Sierra Leone, Ernest Bai Koroma, was there to give the opening, and the keynote was President Nana. So it's very rare that this has been done on such a great level. And Open Society, about 2 years ago, we launched this initiative for the restitution of African heritage. So over the span of 2 years, we've been able to support African-led organizations with a budget of just at $10 million to help push the dial on this, and that includes convenings, that includes collaborating with the African Union for the Common Position document, supporting ECOWAS, and also supporting the real activists that are on the ground in the community and civil society.
Interesting. So, Mr. Ibrahima, we're having this discussion about restitution. Someone may probably be asking him or herself now, so what is this African heritage restitution we're talking about? How would you answer that question?
Well, it's many things. You know, people started with the restitution of artifacts. But then when you read the AU Common African Position, it's talking about heritage resources, because it's not limited to artifacts that were stolen. It's related to many. She talked about human remains, but when you go to, for example, on the scientific area, universities, many of our knowledge was stolen. And we want that knowledge back in our universities, so that our universities can teach those, have many resources that they can use to teach African their own history, their own science, their own culture and everything. So it's really very large. Now, sometimes the request is done by communities. Sometimes the request is done by the state itself. But usually it's done by communities. And because we are in international relation, and international relation is relation between states, communities have to go through the states to make their claim accepted, or at least to continue to pursue the claim at the international level. For example, I come from Senegal. Many African communities used to make claims, but the claim used to go to the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Okay.
So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will examine the claim, but to continue the conversation, they need the states, either Benin or Senegal or Mali, to continue the conversation, because it requires, a relationship between two states. Okay. And then when they are successful, the artifacts will come back, or the heritage resources will come back, and now given back to the community, and for the community to decide what to do with the artifact, because this was not stolen in a museum. We don't know the concept. The Western concept of museum is not our concept.
Okay.
It was coming from royal houses, and sometimes even in places that the worship places,
family homes,
yes,
shrines.
Exactly. Jewelries, in the French system, what the military used to do, every time they conquer a space, they will go after the families, the royal families, and steal all the jewelries. For example, in France now, Senegal, a community in Senegal is claiming the jewelries of their own family. And it was coming from a French general.
Okay. Very interesting things. But what will we see for you, the Open Society, and all of us, to know that we have achieved the objective for this restitution?
Well, I think there's many goals, right? Our goal is, yes, we must bring these artifacts back, but bringing them back is not enough. There's financial loss that needs to be repatriated. There's knowledge systems, and there's healing that needs to happen. There's healing that needs to happen between communities. There's healing that needs to happen amongst ourselves, and there's healing that needs to happen within states. So I think there's not just one goal, there's many, many goals, but right now we're focusing on getting the objects back. And, you know, my colleague Ibrahima here, he just said something very important, that the West, their version of what a museum is not what ours is. And I think that, you know, in order for Africa to strive, when it comes to the museum space, we need to think about what a museum is and why are we bringing back these objects, also to just have them sitting behind glass. What does that teach us? So I think that this is a very opportune time for us to really rethink and reframe how we want to move forward with these objects, with our future. And really, you know, we should not be going to the West. The West should be coming to us.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
Can I also add something which is really very important? What we discover in collaborating with community and state is that we created a situation whereby the state itself realized that it doesn't have the mechanics, it doesn't have the institution, the infrastructure, not only to communicate with the community, but also to discuss, to negotiate with the external actors. Okay. So mechanisms are being put in place in many countries. And even ECOWAS, the AU, have now taken up the issues and making it their own issues.
Interesting. Really, like I told you yesterday, I pray that we regularly have this kind of conversations, because look, yesterday when we spoke about this, my hometown people were all over, because then it brought to memory our king who was beheaded. And it started a whole discussion. So I think we need to have more of that, and to serve as a source by which we try to reignite, you know, the African in us, and to help us struggle for what is ours. But there's this Chalet Water Festival that is happening now. I don't know if you know about it.
Yes.
You know about it?
Yes.
What was it a coincidence that this event is being done at the same time we're doing this, or? Yes,
I mean, I think you know, we did know Chalet Wote was happening. I'm very aware of the street festival, but it was strictly coincidence.
Okay.
But, you know, I think the universe is guiding us and saying that this is important and we should be here at the same time.
At this time, I get it. So are you going to pass by and to do something there?
We will try our best to pass by, but as you know, we have a full schedule.
Okay. All right, grateful to you for passing by. Like I said, try and come by most of things so we can do this. Yeah. Yes. Veronica Chatelain, Senior Program Officer with the Open Society Foundation. Ibrahim Khan, a Special Advisor with the Open Foundation. Very, very solid people doing so well for the continent. Our prayers are with them.